Hey everybody, welcome back. Today I'm going to focus on your hips. So I have quite a few clients and other people who have contacted me about hip pain or hip stability or upcoming hip surgeries, things like that, or recovering from hip surgeries after physical therapy. So even if none of that is what you're dealing with, supporting your hips and having strong glutes is important for supporting your core and your foundation and supporting all those other large muscle groups in our body. So let's get started. We're going to start with a standing hip exercise, hip abduction, AB. So you're pulling your leg away from your body. So I'm going to stand on this little bit of a pad. So if you have one, go ahead and stand on it. The reason I like to stand on a little bit of something is it just gives a little bit more ease for that foot to move side to side. So stand on something. If you don't, you can still do it. It's fine. It just makes it a little bit easier to have that mobility of that foot, especially if you're standing on something like carpet or something where your foot might catch a little. Also, do this near something where you can hang on. So you can easily do it at the kitchen counter or maybe a railing, anywhere where you can hang on and have some support. So before we get started, you want to have everything in line. So stacking your hips, keeping your core nice and tight. And then when you go to move your weight to one foot before you start moving that leg, think about supporting that standing leg as well. You don't want to fall into this before you try to pull your leg out. It's going to be really hard, first of all, for this motion. And second of all, these muscles are not engaging to support that hip. So both sides are working hard here. So we're going to pull that away, it's a hip abduction out to the side. And I'm going to turn my toe in just a little bit, and that will really help focus on those glutes. If my toe is leading out like this, my hip flexors and my quads are taking over, and they already get a lot of work. So we want to focus on those smaller muscles, your glutes, and just really go nice and slowly out to the side. Notice I'm just kind of going here. I'm not leaning over to try to get it way out to the side. It's not a leg kick or anything. It's just a small abduction. So after we've done about 10, we're going to switch and go to the other side. You may notice your standing leg gets tired as well because those muscles are also working hard to support you. Now remember to hang on to something for support. So this isn't necessarily a balance exercise. I really want to be able to focus on those muscles. And if you're kind of teetering around, those muscles don't necessarily get the love that they need. Hi, Tubby. You can go lie down. Tubby came to help. Okay, next is going to be hip extension. Okay, come on, over here. So I'm going to turn to the side so you can see how I do this. Again, the same position for starting. Stand nice and tall with your hips level, shoulders back, abs engaged, and we're going to go to the back. So this is extension, hip extension. And you'll really feel this right underneath your cheeks here. So you want to squeeze right there, kind of right where your hamstring comes up and joins. And again, it's not a very big movement. You'll notice my foot doesn't go too far behind where my standing foot is. It's a small movement. It kind of just ends right there. We don't need to tip forward and bring it way back here. That kind of defeats the purpose and gets some other muscles called in. So we're just slowly taking that back, keeping your posture nice and tall, not leaning forward. Okay, and then we'll switch and do the other side. Again, do it where you can hang on to something. Give yourself some support for this, especially if you find this standing leg is getting really tired. By hanging on to something, you can give that some more support and help it not get so tired as it's standing. But that is part of it, and that's part of the exercise, is having that support in both legs. And your toe, again, is staying straight forward. With this one, we don't want to be pulling it out like this, just straight back. Engaging those hip extensors, those glutes. Okay, next, we're going to do hip adduction, so AD. And I'm going to sit on a ball, and I'm going to squeeze a ball. But you can do this many different ways. You can sit on a chair and squeeze a pillow between your knees, or you can squeeze, just your hands or a rolled up towel. Anything will work. It's all really the same. And I just like the ball because it immediately puts me in a really good posture. So just put that ball between your knees or whatever you might have, ball, rolled up towel, pillow. Sit up nice and tall. Always keep those abs tight. And gently squeeze that ball. So we're going to squeeze it and hold it for 3 or 4 seconds and then release. And you're not going to feel like this is a super hard workout, but what it does is it strengthens these adductors in here, and it also helps open up your hips. Your pelvis is sitting, especially if you're sitting on a ball, it just kind of helps open things up. So keeping your torso nice and tall, good posture, abs nice and tight. When you're strengthening your hips are part of your core. All of this area is all part of your core. So if you don't have strong hips, it's a big foundation in having a strong core. So we want to work on those hips for a multitude of reasons. Okay, after we've done about 10, then we're going to go to the floor. So I'll put my ball down, and I'm going to move my camera down here. Now we're going to get to work on those abductors again. So you can either do all of these in one day or you can split them up. If you feel like these are really hard, we can split them up and do them on separate days. You can start with those standing ones because they're quite a bit easier. This one starts to pull in some gravity. So this one, these next few that I'm going to show you, start making this quite a bit more difficult. So I want you to lay on your side. Then you can use a pillow or just your arm here so that your head stays in proper alignment. You want to stack your hips right on top of each other, and then we're going to bend this lower leg, and we're going to do this abduction again. So we're just going to lift your leg to the side, just like you were doing standing. So you'll notice I'm turning my toe down. So this is really the same motion, but it's much harder because you're adding gravity into it. So again, I don't want to take it up super high. I'm taking it up and down in a controlled motion. We'll go about 10 times. And then we're going to turn and switch sides because you'll notice that really gets engaged with these lying on the side. So we'll switch sides. And the other thing you can do is take these and maybe just work one in to your daily workout. Make sure I'm all on camera here. So I'm all in line. I've got my head in line, my hips stacked, my toe turned down towards the ground, and I'm slowly raising and lowering that leg. Really focusing on these glutes back here, and you'll feel that. Especially adding this gravity, and if you did the first ones too. So this is all about hips today. Happy hips. Keeping that range of motion and that strength. If you have weak glutes and weak hips, it can lead to poor posture. It can lead to back pain. It can lead to hip and knee pain, all up and down the chain. All right, after we've done 10, now we're going to switch sides again and give that side a break. If you really want to blast it, you can stay on one side for all of these, but I probably would recommend switching sides back and forth. So now, we're going to do that same starting motion. I want you to just hold your hip out nice and straight, hold your leg out nice and straight, point that toe down, and we're going to bring your hip forward and back. So we're just holding it out straight like you're standing sideways. And you're just moving it forward and back. And you'll notice when you go into that extension, you're not going to be able to go back super far, and that's okay. But you're bringing that forward and back, working more of those flexors and extensors while you're holding that abduction. This one is quite hard, you'll notice. So if you can go back and forth about 10 times, and if you can't make it that long, that's okay. Try about 5 to start, and then switch. So we'll switch sides. This time we're going to Stack each time. Really think about stacking your shoulders, stacking your hips. You want a good alignment all up and down. Turn that toe down. Squeeze down a little bit. Down. Okay, so we're going to start with your hips straight out, forward and back. Forward and back. Now you don't want it way up here in doing this. It's really just straight down, like if you're standing sideways, like if you're standing on the wall. You just want it straight out, just picked up a little bit off the floor, forward and back. And you'll notice when you go back, you don't need to go back very far. If you do, you're going to start to roll backwards, and you don't. You just want to keep everything in line, keep it stacked, make all of these other supporting muscles work in order to control that leg. Okay, good. Now we're going to switch sides again. I'm going to turn my screen back on so I can see. And now we're going to start in the same position again, lying on your side. If you need to stretch in between these, you can lie on your back and grab through like this, and that will stretch out those abductors and stretch out those glutes and that piriformis that are working so hard right now. And that'll just give them a quick release if you want to do that in between these exercises. Okay, now we're going to start just like we were. Stacked hips, stacked shoulders, bring that foot up, turn that toe down, and we're going to do a bicycle. So bring it up like your march and bicycle it around. Make sure I'm all in there. Yep. This is getting some good range of motion while you're still targeting those muscles. And like I said, you can do all of these on one day, or you can stagger them. You can save these. So, you know, one day you might do the standing hip abduction and extension, and then another day you do these, and maybe you just do one of these per day. And that's okay. It's good to just get that really specific work on those hips, on those glutes, to give you that support. Let's do one more, and then we'll switch sides. All right, everything's stacked. Hips, shoulders, bring that leg up, turn that toe down, and bicycle. So when you bring it back down, bring it down in a straight line. So you just want to bring that knee forward, bicycle it around. If you have any pain with this, stop and let me know. Generally, it's good to start with the standing ones. They're the easiest ones because it takes gravity out of it. You can even do hip flexion where you just bring your leg forward and back. But stop and let me know if any of these don't work for you and you need a couple other ideas. There's a lot of different hip stabilization exercises that we do that I can share with you. One more. Okay, remember, so let's roll on your back. And if you can't reach through and grab that knee, you can grab a strap or a towel, or a dog leash works really well. And just gently pull that knee towards you to stretch out those hips. Your piriformis, your glutes, your IT band. All of those are working hard during those. And then we'll switch. Get those stretched out. And you can do this in a seated position too. If you have any knee pain with this, you can bring that knee in closer to you. Okay, one more. And we're going to do these are called psoas marches. So your psoas is a muscle that runs underneath your pelvic bone here. And what I'm going to have you do is, if you don't have a foam roller, you can just do this on the ground, or you can put your legs up just a little bit on a rolled up towel. I'm going to show you how to start to make this the easiest to begin with, because this is a pretty difficult move. So I want you to lie on your back like we've done in the past, and I want you to think about flattening that back to the floor. I'm going to refresh my screen here to make sure I'm on. starting with the towel or the foam roller or whatever you might be using up on your calves. So the further you have this down, the harder it is. So I want to start where it's the most doable to begin with. So your hands are beside your hips. I want you to come up into a little bit of a bridge and march one foot up and then come down. And back up into that bridge, march one foot up and come down. So each time before you go, flatten that back into the floor. Give that back the support that it needs. Use those abdominal muscles. Flatten that back, bridge, march, and down. Now if you're doing this and it feels pretty doable, pretty easy, try 10 and see how it feels. Make sure there isn't any pain anywhere. The other thing you can do is hold that bridge. So march, march. Wow, and it's not a very big bridge. There's not a lot of space here, but you're just doing a little bridge, engaging those glutes while your psoas is contracting. So it's really working on all of this stabilization. March that up. If you need to, you can come down and then march the other leg up. Or do one on each side and then come down. Make sure you're not overdoing this one. This one is a pretty advanced one, but you can make it work for you. So if you come up into that bridge and then march, or you can hold it. Like I said, you can just hold it up there. Slowly march those knees up and down. Okay, those are some hip exercises that you can do. You don't have to do them all at once. You can save them and do some, maybe 2 or 3 a day, and just space it out. Really work on that stabilization. Let me know if you have any questions. Talk to you soon.